Good day to everybody. This is Rob Mazak. I am a psychic medium, and welcome to the Life by Mazak Metaphysical Podcast. I love to talk about my experiences and the experiences I have when I work with clients to share this information in the hopes that it will actually help others think a little different, maybe challenge their belief system, perhaps push them in a direction to research these things themselves if they find them interesting. Not here to talk about these things as if they're the truth, but just conversation. Take a topic or an idea or ideas and just talk off script and just let it roll where it should. I'm not real sure how I would title this particular podcast. However, it's going to have the word challenge in it because life has been really challenging for myself and many of the clients that I've had recently. I don't know if it's because of the rise in the ascension process, the Great Awakening, if we're all just feeling the energy shift or the shift of the earth or the universe or what. But everything has just been absolutely challenging. For example, a couple weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, I had a tooth pulled, and should have been rather a very easy procedure. The dentist really had to dig and pull and wiggle and just really, that tooth was in there. It was a molar that I cracked. Getting older is not for sissies, by the way. And it cracked all the way to the root, so it had to come out. So we had to take it out in a couple pieces. Long story short, I believe I developed some type of infection process in that procedure, and or perhaps in the couple of days I had to wait to get the procedure while the tooth was cracked. However, it felt like a sinus infection might. My head was pounding like a migraine. I've never had one per se. So what I imagine a migraine should feel like for like 16 days. All day, all night. It was just terrible. And then I learned eventually in the process that the antibiotics that I got to take, my body actually didn't like it, and obviously I kept taking it and didn't realize that was the problem. Thought it was just part of this infection process. Went to the ER, went to all kind of, I guess, avenues to see about what was going on and how to fix it. Turns out that, the antibiotics didn't like me at all, and so I spent a whole week almost not eating, trying to work, and it was not fun. But in that experience, there is a lesson. There's a lot of lessons. One of them very clearly was given to me. I had a lot of time to think because I was awake. It was a headache, right? And connecting with those on the other side, my angel guide and others, that, this is what I should be doing right here. Talking and sharing with everybody across the planet as far and wide as I can. And not because I'm anybody special, it's just because I've kind of stacked up lots of experiences and developed some really cool modalities. I should say I didn't come up with those modalities, but I developed those in a way that it really has become really pretty awesome, giving me the ability to help people as much as I can, and it's just really amazing. But I haven't been doing that enough. I know I haven't. I got on this playing soccer way too much kick. I love soccer. I mean, my ideal of playing soccer would be to be on the pitch, on the field every single day if I could. That would be my glory days. I mean, that's what I would love to do. But we all know that that's only part of why we're here, right? Or why I'm here. But it's been told to me many, many times that I should be sharing in words and writing and whatever, using the internet to get this spanned across the planet. And those that are interested and want to listen and hear and maybe research and maybe change their way of thinking or help them get on the right path, whatever, right? And so that was pretty obvious. And I realized it after, several days into it, but I think they wanted to make sure that I really understood it. So they kept it going for 16, 17, 18 days. I don't know, it was forever before I finally quit having a headache. Also, one of the things I've experienced recently is it seems like everything that I do, every project that I have done recently, seems to be very laborious and takes 2 to 3 times as long as it should. I changed the disposal over the weekend, for example. I've done hundreds of them when I was in the apartment maintenance business. 30 minutes tops, right? Pop it out, pop it in, plug it in, all good. But no, it took me 4 hours to do this particular one. And I am not quite sure why. However, and everything I touched seems to be the same way. Lots and lots of lessons have come my way. Lots of things that are being very pointed and obvious, that I shouldn't be doing certain things and that I should be doing the things I should be doing. Like tonight, I had planned on not doing this necessarily, or doing it later tonight, which usually means I wasn't going to do it tonight. I was trying to attend a board meeting that I was supposed to be at, while I'm sitting in the car waiting to play a soccer game within that hour. And so I was going to shortchange the board meeting to play soccer. And I went out there to get in my truck and go to the store and get some stuff, earlier. And lo and behold, what do I have? I have a screw in my tire. And so now I have a flat tire out there. And we'll get it fixed tomorrow. But the point being that if you're not listening, if you are not listening and truly tuning in and doing what you're directed and told to do, everything that you can imagine will get in your way. Big spiritual hammer will hit you upside the head, and you will know for absolute certainty that you are not doing what you should, and they will get my attention. I'm sure this happens to a lot of people. I hear it from a lot of clients. And sometimes these things are not necessarily because we're not listening to the mission, but because we are basically who we have become through experiences. I talk about this a lot. Our culture, our raising, things that have happened to us, the traumas, different things that have been ingrained and embedded and encoded in our subconscious. In our subconscious, its job is not to change things or become better, but to support the things we believe are true, whether we're consciously aware of them or not. The truth lies really, really deep within us, and if we don't change it, then it becomes a loop and a pattern. And it's something that will keep coming back around over and over. The gift that keeps on giving. You've probably heard about some things, right? So I had a client last night, and we'll keep some of the details out. But it was very obvious throughout the conversation that she was repeating patterns from early in her life. And it was interesting because at the beginning, it didn't seem that obvious to her that she was really following a pattern. But an event happened to her that was just outrageous. I mean, I've heard some interesting things, but not this one. Not going to say what it is. But the point being is, the more we talked like 2 hours, the more we realized, or I realized and helped her realize, that what this is the same patterns that's been happening her whole life. Not necessarily to her in this instance, perhaps as an awakening or a call to action for her, to remind her that there's still some things that need to be worked on. And it's amazing that when we think we are healed, or we think we've done the work, we've done the shadow work, we've done the meditation, we've done all these things, that we become healed and better, and everything is all good again, right? But it's amazing how many times I hear that, where is this coming from? I've worked through all that trauma. Well, it doesn't always work that way. Trauma is something that tends to stay tightly wound within us longer than we can imagine. So our idea of doing the work, the amount of time that we imagine it should take, you might as well multiply that by several times, because to repattern a programming within our subconscious through multiple traumas or what we imagine are traumas, whether they're real traumas or not. They are real to the subconscious and to us. Those things get hardwired almost in our subconscious. And as noted already, our subconscious is out there to support our beliefs. It will go out of its way to not to convince you to change, but to convince you of your truth. It is a hard truth, no pun intended, to learn that we are really self-sabotaging ourselves. Because our brain is also, and our mind, they're one and the same maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a difference. We don't really talk about that tonight. Our mind is about survival, to keep us alive and keep us safe and not allow us to make too many or take too many challenges or too many risks that would put our lives in danger. And so there we go. Our life just becomes this roller coaster ride of you go through an experience and you're like, why do I keep having the same experiences? Why do these things keep happening to us? And the other thing is, if you were really to drill down and look at the messages and the signs, quote unquote signs, that you have been given before these events unwind and come back in your life again, they really are trying to warn you, trying to let you know that you're about to step into an old pattern and that you need to consciously switch that and to make different choices and not fall back into the same patterns. Don't jump back in with 2 feet and then blame life and blame luck and blame chance. That's not how it works, right? We have to live more on purpose, if you will, right? And really, really take the time throughout our day to pay attention to the signs and the things that are right in front of us. So I guarantee you that those on the other side, whatever you like to call that, like God, spirit guides, higher beings, ascended masters, you can call them whatever you like. But those on the other side are always putting breadcrumbs out for us. In my opinion, I can't prove that, right? But in my life, it's very true. And when I was talking to this client yesterday, the things that she also talked about is recently, going to new job interviews, to just about everything that's happening to her in her life. The color purple has been showing up. It's just like everywhere. She goes to her job interview and everybody else has a green notebook and a green pen that's interviewing, and she has the only one that has a purple notebook and a purple pen, just over and over and over all the time. And one of the things I talked to her about, and I talked to a lot of people about, is maybe you should agree with the universe, come to an agreement with the universe or what you consider your guides, that the color purple in this case, would be now your validation sign or a moment for you to reflect on change or something to get your attention. Now, for me, it's double rainbows. Now, I don't see double rainbows in the sky very often. Most of us don't. But they have come across as like a prism of a light that flashes through the window just right, and then there's 2 rainbows on the table, or you get my point. I mean, it shows up in very odd ways, and always when it's time to completely validate my question, if you ask a question, should I continue working here, right? And then you look up at your TV like I am right now, and there the lights on the ceiling have created these double rainbows across the screen. The TV's not on. Now, have they always been there? I don't know, but I just happened to pay attention to it when I asked that question. You can wheel and deal with the universe. But if you find your life is terribly difficult, it's not always because you're self-sabotaging or you're in a trauma pattern or any of that. It could also be that you have agreed to come here to this life. I don't know if you believe in past lives or future lives or any of that, but let's just say that it's true, that maybe you have agreed to come into this life to experience certain type of life, and maybe you were supposed to come in and experience hard times because you were the ones giving hard times in other lives. It could be something like that as well. It could also be something that's conditioning you and trying to steer you into the path that you are supposed to be taking. Like in my case, I wasn't listening, I wasn't paying attention long enough, and I know I wasn't, and yet, my human nature took over, and wham bam, you can have a headache for 16 days, buddy. Let's see how you manage that one. Well, it's amazing when those kind of things happen to you, how much you promise and how much you'll barter and banter and talk with your guides. It's amazing. But if we could learn to do that routinely without having to be slamboozled, our life would be way, way better, right? And so the other thing that we talked about that was interesting is in the experience that she had, she mentioned to me, she said, well, maybe, the other person is not necessarily the only bad guy in this equation, because as I envision that experience again, it brings me some type of strange excitement, and I feel like I'm just as bad, or I'm the bad guy too, or the bad person. And so the thing I told her, and I will tell you, is that if you could listen to every thought that everybody has, you would be amazed at how horrible our thoughts are. The things that we think about, the things we talk to ourselves about in our minds is immensely terrible. And it's just, I told her, I said, it's okay. It's okay that that's come across. It could be part of the trauma reaction. It could be all kind of things. But it doesn't make you a bad person. What, in my opinion, rather, makes you a quote-unquote bad person, or a person that does bad things, is taking those ugly thoughts and putting action behind them. There is a big difference between having these thoughts. I have them all the time. I tell you, if you were to read my journal when I was going through my personal development, 12 years ago, and my healing and all that, and I was documenting it, you would think I was Jeffrey Dahmer or something. I mean, it was just the thoughts that you have, if you're honest with yourself, are just, whew. Hey, nobody wants to hear these things, right? And I think that's why our thoughts are private. I think that's why our Creator made it so that others can't necessarily hear them. I mean, yes, telepathy, and you can hear some thoughts, but by and large, you don't know what others are thinking, literally. Because if you did, you wouldn't be friends with anybody. You wouldn't be married to your other half, because those thoughts are just, ghastly, right? But you got to remember that we are human. We are human beings, and thoughts and feelings most of the time show up uninvited. We don't necessarily cause them to come or to become thoughts. We can think on purpose, yes, but thoughts are like breathing. You don't have to think about breathing. It just happens. However, you can consciously take it over and control it. Breathe slower, faster. You can do all that. There is some conscious control as well. But I believe our thoughts are very much the same, where they are going to happen regardless of whether you're purposely creating them or not. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 60,000 thoughts a day, and that is a lot of thoughts. And where do they come from? There's a lot of theories behind that and a lot of ideas. Are they coming from without? Are they coming from within? Are we just a receiver? Are we the ones that produce these thoughts? Is it our subconscious that's just repeating thoughts, every day, 95% or better, the same thoughts every day? The king of meditation, Joe Dispenza, as I call him, the king of meditation, would say that scientifically. He's done the research, and yes, we do have the same thoughts over and over and over and over again, year after year after year, and we wonder why our life never changes. So we have to do something about that, right? We have to live on purpose, but at the same time, realize that we are human, and that it is okay to feel sad, to feel bad, to feel hurtful, to feel hateful, to feel loving, to all of that. It is okay. The difference is, do we act on those things? Do we stay in those modes? Because the longer we stay in those modes, if you look at the process, the algorithm, and all that, this will eventually become personalities and traits if you don't change it, right? Once again, check out Joe Dispenza's work, and you'll see the same type of ideas, right? This is not something I'm making up. This is something that he's scientifically looked at and does it all the time. That conscious part of ourselves, really, in my opinion, is the method to change your programming. Now, it will not happen overnight. It will not happen in a day. It takes time. So imagine that you managed to gain 300 pounds of body fat, and it took you 10 years to get there. Slow process. Guess what? You are not going to lose that 300 pounds in a couple weeks on some fad diet. It may take just as long as it did to gain it to lose it. And so you have to look at that same paradigm, that same idea when we're looking at changing our programming and our way of life and designing it. Right? You have to be persistent, consistent, because the subconscious knows no difference, between what we consider reality and what we make up in our mind. And so why don't we train it? Why don't we use that to our advantage? If it's just the private that salutes the general, hey, give it an order. Especially when you go to sleep at night. If you can ingrain that in your subconscious and it has 6 to 8 hours at night to go after that order and work on that process, man, that's really good, because your conscious mind is turned off. It's not in the way. It's not Mr. and Mrs. Stupid trying to close the door, open the door, control it. It is now in the hands of the subconscious, which knows nothing but what orders it has been given. So don't ever give up. Don't ever worry about how bad you feel or the thoughts that you have. I would guess that if you had persistent and consistent thoughts that felt bad, you may have to really attack that and really, really work on that programming a little bit harder than other parts of your life. And the other thing you got to do is, when you design your life, you really got to be very specific. Along with the story about my tooth being pulled, weeks leading up to that, I was claiming to lose about 15 pounds and that this would just begin to come off. And I don't think I put in strong enough influence into that. I wanted that process to be without harm, without sickness, without any damage to my body. And I do remember putting it in, some of those intentions, but I don't think it was enough of the equation. And so, yes, I haven't lost 15 pounds, but I certainly have lost about 10 pounds in the process. Now, that's a hell of a way to lose weight. So you got to be careful. I once worked with a client one time, and she said that she was about to inherit like $6 million or $16 million or something. And she said that she'd been working on this manifestation persistently and consistently over a number of years. And she was very, very specific that this money was coming into her life without anybody having to die, nobody having to get hurt, nobody getting sick, no health issues whatsoever. And she said it went exactly like she intended. Now, did it happen overnight? No, it took time. Everything takes time. I mean, there are some instantaneous things or things that seem instantaneous, but that's not always true. Also, if you find yourself in these trying times and you find yourself in these tailspins, sometimes we can't always work on it ourselves. We need a safe space or somebody to go and talk to and to get these things out and help you realize maybe some of the patterns that you're not picking up. Like in the conversation with this client last night, and she said, well, no, those kind of things don't happen very much. And the more we talked, there was just example after example after example. I'm like, so it didn't happen, right? Didn't happen much. Well, of course it did. Many times this is why our life keeps spinning in circles. So find somebody or some buddies or a group, a safe space somewhere where you can talk about these things and you can get them out and you can begin to carve them up and look at them. And when you do meditate and connect, either with people or your spirit guides or ascended masters or any of that stuff, be straightforward and ask, what is next? What is it about me that needs to be pulled out, looked at, carved up, worked on, and then work on it? It's no good for you to get information about something that should be changed within you to put you on the right path or take you down the path you should be, and you simply don't do anything about it. It's going to be hard. It's going to suck. It's going to be lousy. But like I said about those times for me, it was like the best and the worst experiences I've ever had. Because in there you learn about yourself. You learn about your path, your new way forward. You learn how to communicate with the other side. It is just an amazing process. It's not for the faint, because let me tell you, enlightenment and the Great Awakening and all of that everybody keeps talking about is not like, flowers and fairies. It is brutal. It is like turning yourself inside out and creating yourself anew. So you have to be ready. If you're ready and you say you're ready, you better be ready, because it's going to be like drinking from a fire hose. It's going to be not impossible, but it's going to be difficult. It can be done. All right, I will quit rattling. I will quit talking. But I think you get to a point, right? Live your life on purpose. Don't let it live you. And when you realize that you're beginning to self-sabotage and circle the drain, not circle the drain, but circle or go in circles, do something about it. People, don't just let it happen to you. Life is not supposed to happen to you. You're supposed to happen to life. I look forward to hearing from you guys. I love working with you guys, because the more I work with others, the more I help myself, the more I help you, the more information I gain, the more information you gain, and we all benefit, and it is a wonderful thing. So I look forward to hearing from you. Stay strong and live your life.